Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we will be talking about Warhammer 40k Part 1 and how it was created, so let's dive in. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine is an iconic game set in the grim, dystopian universe of Warhammer 40k, a franchise developed by Games Workshop in the 1980s. To fully understand the creation of Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine and its journey through development, it's important to first explore the rich tapestry of the Warhammer universe, the challenges of adapting such a world to a video game, and the dedicated team behind its execution. In the late 1980s, Games Workshop, a small UK-based company known for its tabletop miniature wargames, introduced Warhammer 40k. It was an ambitious concept, blending gothic science fiction with brutal fantasy elements. The galaxy-spanning empire depicted in the setting is on the verge of collapse, besieged by terrifying alien races and warped demonic forces. Central to this lore is the Imperium of Man, a militaristic, authoritarian regime controlled by the decaying husk of the Emperor of Mankind, worshipped as a god. The game was heavily influenced by a mix of heavy metal music, classic literature, and dystopian sci-fi from the 20th century, such as Frank Herbert's Dune and Isaac Asimov's Foundation. What set Warhammer 40k apart from other sci-fi universes was its relentless bleakness and scale. Humanity was not a shining beacon of hope but rather a doomed species teetering on the edge of extinction. The Space Marines, genetically enhanced warriors clad in powered armor, were the Emperor's elite, bred for war and tasked with defending the Imperium against all threats. The dark and gritty lore quickly resonated with fans of the tabletop game, and it became one of the most successful and enduring franchises in gaming history. Over the years, numerous developers attempted to adapt Warhammer 40k into video games, but these games were primarily strategy-focused titles, such as the Dawn of War series. These games were successful in capturing the scale of the 40k universe, but they focused on the battlefield as a whole, rather than the individuals within it. However, fans of Warhammer longed for a game that allowed them to experience the power and might of a single Space Marine on the ground. That desire led to the creation of Warhammer 40k Space Marine, a third-person action game where players could step into the boots of one of the Emperor's finest warriors. The game was developed by Relic Entertainment, a studio known for its work on the Dawn of War series, and published by THQ, a company with a history of turning tabletop games into hit franchises. The early concept for Space Marine came at a time when third-person action shooters like Gears of War were becoming immensely popular. The idea was simple: combine the brutal melee combat that Warhammer fans loved with the over-the-top gunplay that was a hallmark of modern action games. However, transforming this universe into an immersive, real-time experience presented a host of challenges. The scale of the Warhammer 40k universe was the first hurdle. How do you depict the sheer enormity of a galactic empire spanning millions of planets, while making the player feel grounded in one of its countless wars? How do you translate the impossible size and power of a Space Marine into gameplay mechanics that feel impactful? Relic chose to focus the game on a single, well-defined moment within this vast universe. They centered the game around Captain Titus, a stoic and battle-hardened Ultramarine, and his squad as they defend an Imperial forged world from an Orc invasion. Forged worlds are vital industrial planets, where all of the Imperium's war machines and weaponry are constructed. The invasion of such a world posed a grave threat to the Imperium's war effort, providing a suitable backdrop for a high-stakes story. Early prototypes of the game leaned heavily on melee combat. The developers knew that the raw power of a Space Marine had to be reflected in the gameplay. The player needed to feel like they were wielding a chainsword capable of cleaving through enemies with brutal efficiency. However, they quickly realized that an action game in this universe wouldn't be complete without the iconic bolter, the Space Marine's massive and powerful firearm. Striking the right balance between melee combat and ranged gunplay became one of the central pillars of the game's design. Another challenge was ensuring that Space Marines stayed true to the Warhammer 40k lore. Games Workshop was famously protective of their IP, and while they wanted Relic to innovate, they also insisted that the game reflect the ethos of the universe. For example, Space Marines had to be depicted as nearly invincible. They do not take cover or show fear. This translated into the decision to forego traditional cover mechanics common in other shooters, like Gears of War. Instead, Relic created a health regeneration system that rewarded players for engaging enemies directly in melee combat. Players would restore health by performing executions on weakened enemies, encouraging aggressive, fearless play just as a Space Marine would fight. Creating the visual identity of Warhammer 40k Space Marine was another major undertaking. The Warhammer universe is known for its Gothic architecture, massive industrial cities, and Baroque designs. Everything in the 40k universe is oversized, exaggerated, and steeped in history. The artists at Relic worked tirelessly to bring this aesthetic to life. The Ultramarines, the protagonists of the game, are one of the most iconic Space Marine chapters in the Warhammer 40k universe. Their armor is a deep, royal blue, and they are known for their strict adherence to the Emperor's Codex Astutes, a set of rules governing all aspects of their lives and combat. The team at Relic meticulously designed the Ultramarines' armor, weapons, and environments to match the source material while also updating it for a new medium. The game's environments were just as important as its characters. The setting of a forged world allowed the artists to create massive, industrial landscapes, with towering spires, sprawling factories, and the remnants of ancient technology. These levels were designed to not only serve as backdrops for the combat but also to immerse players in the grandeur and decay of the Warhammer universe. The sheer scale of the environments helped to reinforce the idea that the player was just one warrior in an empire spanning thousands of worlds. The combat system in Space Marine was designed to reflect the relentless nature of the Warhammer 40k universe. Space Marines are bred for war, and the game's mechanics needed to reflect their brutal efficiency in battle. The combat combined fluid melee attacks with powerful ranged weaponry, allowing players to switch seamlessly between the two. This hybrid combat system was a significant departure from the traditional cover-based shooters of the time, and it quickly became one of the game's most defining features. Relic also wanted to create a sense of scale in the combat. The enemies are often numerous, and the player is frequently outnumbered. To deal with these threats, players have access to devastating weapons like the chainsword, thunder hammer, and plasma gun, each of which felt powerful and satisfying to use. Executions, a key part of the game's health regeneration system, were designed to be visceral and brutal, underscoring the raw power of the Space Marines. One of the most important aspects of the combat system was the weight and impact of every action. The developers spent a great deal of time fine-tuning the animations, sound effects, and visual feedback to ensure that every hit felt substantial. When Captain Titus swung his chainsword, it wasn't just a quick animation, it was a powerful, deliberate action that cleaved through enemies with force. The sound design played a key role in this as well, with the roar of the bolter and the whir of the chainsword adding to the overall immersion. The story of Space Marine was tightly woven into the gameplay. Captain Titus, voiced by British actor Mark Strong, was designed to embody the stoic, heroic archetype of the Ultramarine. He's a character defined by his loyalty to the Emperor, his brothers in arms, and his duty to protect humanity at all costs. However, as the story unfolds, Titus begins to question some of the dogmatic teachings of the Imperium, leading to tension between him and his subordinate, Lindros, who is a by-the-book follower of the Codex Astutes. The main antagonist of the game is an orc warboss leading the invasion of the Forge world. The orcs are a staple enemy in the Warhammer universe, brutal, war-hungry aliens who live for battle. They provide the perfect contrast to the disciplined and noble Space Marines. However, as the game progresses, a darker threat emerges in the form of Chaos, a malevolent force that corrupts everything it touches. The arrival of Chaos forces Titus and his squad to confront not only external enemies but also the internal struggles within the Imperium itself. The narrative was carefully crafted to appeal to both longtime fans of Warhammer and newcomers to the franchise. The story explored themes of loyalty, duty, and sacrifice, while also delving into the moral ambiguities of the Imperium. While the Space Marines are undoubtedly heroes, the Imperium itself is a deeply flawed and oppressive regime. This tension between heroism and authoritarianism is a central theme in the Warhammer 40k universe and was reflected in the game's story.
My duty remains undone.
We have captured Beta!
Bask in Emperor's glory!
Victory, regardless of price!
I must reload.
Grenade release!
Immense force base scattered. Dropping magazine.
The tide of battle has turned in our favor.
Fresh magazine in.
We lost Beta.
Honor our chapter's colors.
We have captured Beta.
Ammunition here.